talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany. He proudly posts on social media the words that best describe his 2024 campaign, quote, revenge, quote, power, and quote, dictatorship. There's no confusion about who Trump is, what he intends to do.
There it is, Mr. Unifier-in-Chief's official ramp-up to comparing his predecessor to Hitler. In the very same speech, he pretended like he was the only guy around who could save America.
Today, I make this sacred pledge to you: the defense, protection, and preservation of American democracy will remain, as it has been, the central cause of my presidency.
He wants you to think that the next 11 months are not about getting America back on track where she should be, where people aren't living paycheck to paycheck, where our borders aren't being overrun, where people aren't scared to walk down the street. No, he wants you to think it's all about what he calls democracy.
Whether democracy is still America's sacred cause is the most urgent question of our time. And it's what the 2024 election is all about.
Is it? Because just after Biden stood there in front of multiple American flags, calling Trump the greatest threat to our democracy, we learned the Supreme Court of the United States is hearing a case about Democrats trying to take that very thing away, trying to take Donald Trump off the ballot. Joining us now is Stephen Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump and the founder of America First Legal, and Kurt Schlichter, retired U.S. Army colonel and senior columnist at townhall.com. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us tonight. Stephen,
thank you. It's
a pretty fearful message that Joe Biden angrily relayed to the American public about the threat represented by Donald Trump, the threat to democracy. Will Americans, in your estimation, be afraid they are about to lose their democracy?
I think the clear purpose of Biden's message is twofold. First, obviously, is to try to terrify suburban voters ahead of the elections, and that will be tremendously unsuccessful, as we see in the polling. But the second, and even more nefarious objective, is trying to create the pretext, the predicate for a vast police and surveillance state. So what you see is the enormous tools at the disposal of the Department of Justice, the enormous tools at the disposal of the Department of Homeland Security being arrayed for the purpose of trying to crush political dissent in America, censoring free speech, putting political dissidents in jail for outrageous sentences. You see, for example, pro-life Americans being raided, being threatened with enormous jail time for nonviolent activities, nonviolent protests, while political allies of the Democratic Party, like BLM, are allowed to riot with impunity, allowed to attack and assault with impunity. The message is clear. If you are seen as an enemy of the state, you will be persecuted. And if you're the leader of the opposition, Donald Trump, you will be taken off the ballot and you will be thrown in jail. But if you are an ally of the ruling party, then you will be shielded no matter how grave your crimes. And that includes, by the way, the crime of having completely open borders every single day in this country.
That's true. No sense of self-awareness or irony, it would seem. Kurt, here is what Joe says Trump's campaign is about. Watch.
Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future. He's willing to sacrifice our democracy, put himself in power. Our campaign is different. For me and Kamala, our campaign is about America. It's about you. It's about every age and background that occupy this country.
Again, Kurt, no sense of self-awareness or irony as he spent the entire speech looking backwards, and at one point called the Oval Office my Oval Office.
Well, Will, first of all, I have to say that I'm really glad that the asthma that kept Joe Biden from defending his country in uniform when it called on him isn't keeping him from protecting democracy now from half of Americans who actually want to vote for the candidate of their choice. As Stephen pointed out, he is censoring free speech. He is arresting political opponents. He's waging unrestricted lawfare upon them. It is a disgrace, and it's not going to work. Because, you know, I was just out driving around today. Gas is like $4 or $5 a gallon. You go into the grocery store, you come out wearing one of those little barrels with no clothes. You've got no money left. America is falling apart. Our foreign policy is a disgrace. We're getting pushed around by the Chinese, by the Iranians, by whoever the hell the Houthis are. We've got run out of Afghanistan with 13 people dead. It's a disgrace, and he can't hide it by lying against half of Americans. You know, Will, the people he's lying about right now, the people who support Donald Trump, they built this country, they feed this country, they fuel this country, and they defend this country. Again, unlike Joe Biden.
You know,
I don't want to hear one damn word from the senile, corrupt creep.
Kurt, you know, you're an attorney. We led off tonight as well with the news that the Supreme Court will hear the case in the attempt to remove him from the primary ballot in Colorado. I put nothing past the Supreme Court. I don't put much faith in the decisions or our ability to predict the decisions of the Supreme Court. Again, as an attorney, how do you expect that case to go before the Supreme Court?
Will, when you asked me about the lawfare being waged against Donald Trump as an attorney, that presumes this is some sort of legal endeavor. As a legal matter, the criminal indictments and this ridiculous attempt to keep half of Americans from being able to vote for who they choose, it's a joke. It's going to get tossed out by the Supreme Court. The question is whether Sotomayor and whether Joe Biden's appointee will actually vote and make it 9-0 and totally repudiate this disgusting dictatorship action. We're going to win. It's a matter of whether we preserve the premises that make America what it is in the process.
You know, Stephen, you brought up the substance that represents a threat to democracy, the attack on free speech. I thought Jonathan Turley today, after Joe Biden's speech, put it very succinctly when it comes to who is the biggest threat to the pillars of our democracy. Watch.
When he talks about the freedom of speech, the Biden administration, I've written before, is the most anti-free speech administration since the administration of John Adams. I mean, his administration has carried out what a federal court called an Orwellian censorship program with the help of social media companies.
So Turley agrees with you, Stephen, on what represents a threat to our democracy. What I'd love to ask you, though, Stephen, is there seems to be a change. They would have us believe that Joe Biden would like to run against Donald Trump, that he actually has a chance to beat Donald Trump. But listening to Joe Biden today, he's already taking on Trump. That would seem to empower Trump. It would seem to either suggest, A, he knows it's inevitable that his opponent will be Donald Trump, or he's seen the polling and now he knows, oh, I don't know that I do want to run against Donald Trump, so I need to start attacking Trump.
Well, first of all, they've seen the same polling that all of us have seen in the swing states showing historic leads for President Trump. But secondly, the prosecutions themselves are the proof of the point. Their election strategy is literally to put President Trump in jail. That is their actual election strategy with multiple criminal persecutions. And this is another very important point I want to make. Who is the audience for that speech? Is it the American people? Yes, but it's somebody else too. It's Jack Smith. It's the Department of Justice. It is the judges in each of these cases. By saying that his opponents are Nazis, his message is they must be destroyed. It is dangerous rhetoric. It strikes at the very heart of America's whole system of laws and justice, and it signals that there's no end to which they will not go to maintain their control over power in this country.
Really good stuff. Kurt, Stephen, thank you both so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.